In this video, I'm going to give you the no BS truth about how it actually is selling final expense insurance. Stick around. Greetings and salutations, everybody. It's David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell things like final expense and Medicare, both face-to-face and over the phone. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe and like this video if you happen to like the content. So the purpose of today's video is to give you the inside details, I guess you could say, of what it's really like in a career of successfully selling final expense insurance. Perhaps you've heard the recruiting pitch, you've heard all the rainbows and sunshines, and you're looking for a balanced, a more good and bad assessment of what to expect when you sell final expense. If that's the case, you found the right video. I'm going to go over 5 unique things that make final expense a special business that may or may not impact you on whether or not you should jump into this business. Again, this is a perfect video if you're thinking about selling final expense, or you just began selling final expense, and you want to know the raw truth about how the business really is. First of all, let's talk about where you're going to work in order to sell final expense. So of course, if you're doing something like final expense telesales, like what we support at Duford Insurance Group, or face-to-face for that matter, we support that too, you're going to kind of be in 2 distinct different backgrounds. Of course, selling telesales most likely means you're going to be selling from your home, calling your prospects over the phone, and asking them to buy life insurance or final expense insurance throughout the day, 5 days a week, as many hours as you can possibly handle. Whereas if you're selling face-to-face, you're probably going to experience a different market than what you're ever possibly used to. You see, final expense is sold to low-income Americans, the poor, in other words, and a lot of the sales that we do take place inside the homes of the prospects that we sell to. So if you're used to selling to middle-class America, or perhaps you sell to the top 10% earners and you're now getting into final expense, it's going to be a lot different. You see, where you're going to be when you sell final expenses, wherever low-income Americans reside. The point is that the final expense marketplace and the people you're serving are entirely unique than probably what you're used to. And for many people, it's either a complete turnoff, or people actually love serving people who just don't have a lot of means, that usually get disrespected and don't have a lot of time and effort put towards them, and they actually serve a group of people who really need the help, plus get paid very well. The second point is who you're going to sell to. So this is kind of a continuation of the first point of where you're going to sell. And the people you're going to sell to are older Americans, specifically people 50 and older, who are, again, are low incomes of all races, nationalities, and creeds, who bottom line need to get coverage. And because if they die, they're just not going to get adequate money to pay for their cremation or their burial. And they want a sense of dignity and peace of mind knowing that the coverage is going to be protected. So a lot of the people you're going to deal with are older people. You're going to be dealing with people who are retired. You're going to be dealing with people who are disabled. And what I find is this marketplace is a lot different than the younger marketplace, which younger people generally want less salesmanship, less salespeople, face-to-face especially, whereas the older segments of society still like a face-to-face conversation with an agent to help them choose the best coverage, and are more inclined to the more traditional forms of salesmanship, such as building rapport, establishing trust, and getting consultation from professionals on which life insurance is best. So if you don't like selling to older Americans, this might not be the best choice for you. If you prefer to sell to a younger, working class or middle class type of client, something like mortgage protection, life insurance might be a better suit. But I love working with the older Americans because they're old, they have wisdom, they share with me their life history, they've got great stories to tell. And the thing is great is a lot of these people just frankly need the help. They've waited a long time in order to buy life insurance. They don't know where to even begin, and there's so many bad options for them that I feel like I'm a really good service to get them the quality coverage they need and to help them at a time in their life when frankly they really need it. So point number 3 is the type and volume of rejection you're going to face. After all, selling final expense is sales. So all the same trappings of sales come along with selling final expense, like rejection, like being disrespected, no-shows, and the like. So don't expect anything different. In fact, the best salespeople hear no more than they hear yes. It's kind of a paradox when it comes to, at least the sales I know in the final expense business, is that you are going to go into a business where you get rejected well more often than you actually are accepted, meaning they buy. but the best agents experience the same thing. If you're not used to being rejected, the one tip that I'll give you is they're not really rejecting you as a person, they're rejecting your offer. How could they reject you? They don't know who you are. They don't know your background, your experience, your wisdom, your perspective. They make a split-second decision on whether they need it or not. Please don't take it personally. It's the best advice I can give you. But remember, the more you hear no's in final expense, the closer you are to a yes. And so that's just the way it is. And that's how it's going to be when you call to set appointments. That's how it's going to be when you knock on doors if you're selling face-to-face. And certainly if you're in a face-to-face presentation or a telesales call, you will hear no more than you will hear yes. Get used to it, accept it, and know that that's how the best agents experience the business as well. So point number 4 is, what actually are you going to experience on a daily basis selling final expense? Again, I'm going to segment this into if you're doing telesales first, and then if you're doing face-to-face. Both, by the way, are very viable options with great success opportunity in them. With telesales, basically, to be successful at telesales, you probably have to put in 50 plus hours full-time and at least 20 hours if you're going to start this part-time. And you can sell both telesales and face-to-face on a part-time basis. So when you do telesales, it comes down to you sitting in front of your computer, making the dials and pitching anybody that you talk to. Now, if you use an inbound system like what we do, you'll get the calls fed to you, and you got to be ready and on your toes, ready to sell the policy as it comes in, of course. But you've got to have face time with the telesales process in order to get the most out of the business. Now, for face-to-face, pretty much the same thing, but now you're in front of the prospect. So what you're going to spend your time doing is from sunrise to sunset is going to be seeing the people, getting in front of prospects, knocking on doors, picking up the phone to set appointments, and running presentations in order to, one, call close your prospects day in and day out. So there's going to be a lot of drive time. A lot of the best final expense agents travel face-to-face to different areas around their region in order to find the less targeted markets to sell final expense into. Expect there to be a lot of in-person appointments at people's homes. You're also going to experience things like nobody showing up when they should. Of course, people not buying, even though they expressed interest and sent the card back or requested the information. Again, this is not a complicated process for both telesales and face-to-face. It's not that creative either. You just talk to people and you sell them insurance, and you rinse and repeat that process over and over. So if you're looking for something that's unique and creative, it's not final expense. It's actually pretty boring business when it comes down to it, because day in and day out, you're doing the same things. You're doing the activity necessary to get in front of the prospects on the phone or face-to-face and then close them today for a deal. The last point I'll mention here is the upside if you end up surviving and then thriving in this business. The good news is that the final expense business has a long, long run of opportunity for many more years to come. Unlike other business models that are threatened by government intervention, final expense is not within the crosshairs of our government as far as regulating it and restricting it and possibly upending the business model as it stands. Plus, we have over 10,000 seniors a day retiring, hitting 65, up till 2030, and then just slightly less than that for the next 10 years. So there's more and more people entering this phase of retirement of their life where they become concerned about the final matters and make sure that there is some kind of plan in place to take care of their burial. Add to that, your average insurance agent's age is 59. So a lot of these agents from 2020 to 2030, when you're probably watching this, are going to be retiring. They're going to be leaving the business. And that means there's more prospects coming in and likely not enough agents to handle it. So I believe personally there is more and more opportunity in selling final expense with each passing day. And I don't see how this business will ever slow down. And yes, I do think there's an absolute 6-figure income opportunity for every single agent that applies himself, follows the strategies, and is consistent week in and week out. Not to mention the opportunity to build agencies, to create override income from those agents selling underneath you, and then also possibly getting into Medicare and creating a passive income stream. Bottom line here, this is the raw truth about final expense. It is not easy. It is a simple business, but it is absolutely not easy. And yes, most people will fail this business. The fact is that this business is tough. It is an emotional roller coaster. You're dealing with people who don't want it, who are going to put it off, who are going to waste your time. But in between those points of frustrations, you're going to find people who absolutely appreciate what you're selling them because it gives them the peace of mind they deserve. And you are wonderfully rewarded with a large commission in many cases and the ability to make an income and get the freedom out of this business that you just can't find in so many other employment type opportunities and even other businesses. So as you can tell, I'm absolutely sold on the final expense business now and for years to come, and I invite you to check it out. Again, what I didn't cover here really is which agency is best to employ this business, and that always depends. What I would recommend that you do is to check out how my agency works to see if what we do is a good fit. And it's very simple how to do that. You simply go to the links above or below. You'll see the link, click it, and it'll take you to an overview more about how my business, DeFord Insurance Group, works and to see if you're a good fit for what it is that I'm looking for in an agent. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and please subscribe and like to this video if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.